Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We are off and running on a Saturday morning. Hello, everyone. It is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. I'm your host for the next 3 hours, Tim Murray, live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. Busy day for you, I know. I am a little bit sad that we do not have college basketball to preview and bet on here, but we move forward. We have the third round of the Masters. We've got some live futures there. And, of course, we are going to continue to get ready for the NBA playoffs. 1 day left in the NBA regular season. So a whole lot to get to. A big UFC card tonight, which we will preview. But let's start with a little breaking news on a Saturday. You always like it. You know, this show started as the college football tailgate show every Saturday morning. I was with you all throughout the college football season. We pivoted a little bit once the season ended, focused a lot on college hoops. So let's get a little college football news here on a Saturday morning. You started to hear a little bit of the news that was percolating out of old Rocky Top, that Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback down there, who once upon a time really was kind of the trendsetter, so to speak, in a big NIL deal. $8+ million going his way as a high school senior to go to Tennessee. And then news starting to come out that there was a little bit of unrest there between Nico and Tennessee. He wasn't going to practice, a little bit of a holdout. And then we get the news this morning, ladies and gentlemen, that Pete Thamel from ESPN's reporting Tennessee will be moving on from their starting quarterback, Nico Iamaleava. Josh Heupel informed the team of the decision at a team meeting this morning, and Nico missed meetings and practice on Friday, which was the driver of the decision. So here we are, April 12th, This is the new age of college football, and I was already thinking about doing an exercise tomorrow on the program of ranking the top 10 returning quarterbacks, because it's a kind of fun exercise, because there clearly isn't a Shedeur Sanders coming into this year. There isn't a Will Howard going to Ohio State. It's kind of a fascinating year when you think about the quarterbacks and them coming back into this season. A lot of unknown, right? The biggest name out there from a college football standpoint is Arch Manning, who started just a couple of games when Quinn Ewers got hurt a year ago at Texas. He is the betting favorite, and understandably so, to win the Heisman Trophy. But I'm going to do that exercise tomorrow. But boy, interesting news, and that's just where we are as college football. This is pure speculation, but I do wonder if Nico, a Southern California kid, ends up back at USC. Ends up at USC. USC right now is headed into a very important season for Lincoln Riley with Jaden Maiava, the UNLV transfer, as their projected starting quarterback. So I do wonder if Nico potentially lands there. The portal window, if you're wondering, does open up in a couple of days, a shortened spring portal window. So you got to imagine Tennessee is going to be working their way through some back channels to try to find a new quarterback to come to Rocky Top. Tennessee, by the way, at DraftKings 20-1 to win the national championship. Of course, made it to the college football playoff last year before bowing out in the first round to Ohio State. So some big news today from the college football standpoint, as one of the more notable names and someone, as I raised my hand, I had a ticket on to win the Heisman Trophy just a year ago in Nico. They are moving on. Tennessee is from their starting quarterback. So a little breaking college football news here to get the warm and fuzzies. I don't know about you, but the draft is less than 2 weeks away. To get a little football news in our lives just feels right on a Saturday morning. But we got a lot to get to today. And before we set the scene, let's set up who we've got on the program for you. Jonathan Von Tobel, of course, my co-host of VSiN Primetime, will jump on the program here. Coming up bottom of the hour, we'll talk a little NBA with JVT, as well as the Masters. JVT has been a long backer of Justin Rose, so he's feeling pretty good right now as Jay Rose has the lead after 2 rounds at the Masters. We'll talk to Connor Allen, who is a tremendous NFL draft analyst and bettor. So we'll talk to Connor Allen later on in this hour as well. Hour number 2, Wes Reynolds will jump on the program. He'll give us his thoughts regarding today at the Masters. Are there futures to look at right now after 36 holes, as well as what about third round matchups? So Wes will jump on the program. We'll talk some baseball with my good friend Cody Decker in hour number 2. Matt Newman's in the final hour, and to break down UFC at 3:14, we will talk to Reed Kuhn. So a busy show for you today. It is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, and let's get the day started as we always do. Let's set the scene.
Let's dive into the biggest games of the day.
Yes, indeed, and in just a couple of hours, we will have the leaders back on the course in Augusta, Georgia. Round 3 of the Masters, halfway to a green jacket, and right now, your leader in the clubhouse heading into round number 3 is Justin Rose, who has really been phenomenal. And, Justin Rose, Matt Newmans and I were talking about Jay Rose on Thursday night after he put in a 65 on Thursday to have the first round lead for the 5th time in his career at the Masters. And we were wondering, all right, how is he going to fare on Friday? Solid day for Justin Rose to keep the lead, a 1 under 71 for Justin Rose. You look at his card on Friday for Justin Rose, and we'll get into this a little bit more in about last night. But Justin Rose, 3 bogeys, 4 birdies on his second round, and able to keep that lead. The 2 folks coming up strong behind him, Rory McIlroy, and boy, Rory McIlroy, that was quite the adventurous Thursday as he had a double on 15, double on 17, but he bounced back on Friday. He was 1 under through the first 9, 5 under on the back, and he is 6 under after shooting a 66 on Friday. And then sitting in second, Bryson DeChambeau, as he is plus 330 right now at DraftKings to win the Masters. And Bryson, last year's U.S. Open champ, trying to add a green jacket to his wardrobe.
I mean, I'd always say to win, it takes a little bit of luck and a great amount of skill set. I feel like my skill set's the same, if not a little bit better in certain aspects. So I'm just going to give it my absolute best, and whatever happens, happens, and I'm okay with whatever does happen, because ultimately it's not everything, but it would be amazing to win. It's just continue to keep putting myself in positions like this.
Last year, Bryson finished T6 at the Masters. It's funny, you look back to his previous results at the Masters, and they were terrible, right? 2018 tied for 38th, 2019 tied for 29th, 2020 tied for 34th, tied for 46th and 21, missed the cut in 22, missed the cut in 23, and then last year tied for 6th. He then went and finished second at the PGA, won the U.S. Open. So Bryson right now, a 68 yesterday, and he sits tied with Rory McIlroy as the leader from the odds standpoint. Scotty Scheffler, a 5 under, a bit of I wouldn't call it disastrous, but a struggle there to close out his round yesterday as he sits at plus 360. So atop the leaderboard from an odds standpoint is Rory at plus 330, Bryson DeChambeau at plus 330, Scotty Scheffler plus 360, and then Justin Rose sits at 8-1. Rory McIlroy will start his round at 2:30 Eastern today. Justin Rose and Bryson DeChambeau, the final pairing today to hit the course sitting. They will get going at 2:40. Much more with Wes Reynolds in hour number 2 on round 3 of the Masters. How about a little California dreaming, as baseball in the state of California has been quite impressive. And yes, I am leaving off the Oakland A's because they don't have a name or a city by their name. So get out of my way for the time being in Oakland. Let's look at the San Francisco Giants, who are 10-3, the San Diego Padres 11-3, and the Dodgers 11-4. And let's throw in old JVT's Los Angeles Angels off to an 8-5 start. A combined 40, 4-15 record. So busy day for the California squads. Giants at Yankee Stadium got the win last night. Angels at the Astros. Colorado is visiting the San Diego Padres late night, and then the Dodgers at home to the Chicago Cubs. We'll talk more about those 4 squads from the state of California coming up here in a little bit with Cody Decker in hour number 2. How about welcome to Miami? Yeah, a little Will Smith on a Saturday morning as UFC 314 is down in South Beach, and Alexander Volkanovski, he will be taking on Diego Lopez as the main event. Volkanovski trying to add a nice belt to his career there in the UFC.
Yeah, man, like you said, I really do think this is the biggest fight of my career. I think winning the belt now at the timing would be the biggest part of my story. So really looking forward to putting on a show and getting that belt back.
Alexander Volkanovski right now around a minus 150 favorite, depending on what shop you look at, against Diego Lopez. And over-under on that fight, the main event, is 3.5 juiced over, depending on where you look, around minus 150. Paddy Pimblett and Michael Chandler, your co-main event. And we'll talk more about UFC 314 down in South Beach with Reed Kuhn in the final hour of the program. And then, they're sleeping. No NBA today as the regular season wraps up tomorrow. A lot of things got figured out. We'll talk more about that in our About Last Night segment here on the other side of the break. But no NBA today. Before tomorrow, every single team in the NBA in action tomorrow as the regular season wraps up. And we will talk much more about a couple of series prices that we do have. Knicks and Pistons, Bucks and Pacers, those are locked in. The Eastern Conference is all locked in. We'll discuss that on the other side of the break, as well as check in with JBT at the bottom of the hour. We're up and running. It is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. Come on back on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
We keep it rolling here on a Saturday morning. I'm your host, Tim Murray, live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. Third round of the Masters will get underway here in just a matter of moments. The big news of the day from a college football standpoint, as Tennessee has announced via Pete Thamel that they will be moving on from their starting quarterback, Nico Iamaleava. Tennessee right now on the odds board around 20-1 to win the national championship. And it plays into a segment that I plan on doing tomorrow. And I was actually doing it yesterday on a radio show I do in Memphis regarding this news, ranking the quarterbacks coming back into this year. And you could have some wild differences in the top quarterbacks coming back into this year because there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of unproven nature out there from a college football standpoint this year. I think a lot of people anticipate Arch Manning to be a superstar. Could very well happen. Dude only started a handful of games, so we will dive into that. But big news today from one of the biggest programs in college football. They're looking for a quarterback, Tennessee is, as they have moved on, according to Pete Thamel, from Nico Iamaleava. And we'll see what's next for Nico as well. And this is, once again, as I mentioned, pure speculation, but in a make-or-break type of season for USC and Lincoln Riley out there at the Coliseum, are they going to really hitch their wagon to UNLV transfer Jayden Mayava? Or could they be in the market for a Nico? So we will see, but that's where we are in the college football world. We'll keep touching on this story if anything else comes out. But once again, that's the news this morning. We started to hear a little bit about it yesterday about some holdout aspects to Nico and Tennessee. And now Tennessee looks to be in the market for a quarterback. And we will see post-spring in that portal window if Tennessee goes out and gets themselves a new signal caller. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to talk to Jonathan Von Tobel as we are starting to see the NBA playoff landscape come into a little bit more clearer vision. The Eastern Conference is all set. We know 1 through 10 in the Eastern Conference from a seeding standpoint. The Western Conference, we got a little bit more clearer as the Los Angeles Lakers beat the Houston Rockets last night to lock up the number 3 seed. The Denver Nuggets got a win, come from behind against the Memphis Grizzlies, so they're now sitting in decent shape to get in that 4-5 spot. So still a lot to figure out over the final couple of moments here when it comes to the NBA playoff standings, but we will get to that here with JVT in just a moment. But as we like to do, before we go all the way forward on a Saturday, we like to take a slight step back. We called about last night, and, you might be a little groggy here on this Saturday morning. Maybe you decided to race your child on a baseball field and you pulled your quadricep. Now, I don't know if that happened to you, but it happened to me last night, and I feel old as hell right now, sitting here at this desk thinking about the Theragun I had to use on my leg, and then I watched LeBron James at 40 years old on the first play of the Lakers game get an alley-oop from Luka Doncic. You're like, man, there's a little bit of difference between 37-year-old Tim and 40-year-old superstar that is LeBron James. But, I power through this injury like all the big-time athletes do out there. But let's get back to what happened yesterday at Augusta, and we'll start with the leader. That is Justin Rose. Justin Rose, first-round leader for the 5th time in his career. And for Justin Rose, once again, as we pointed out on Thursday night on VSiN Primetime, great hit for anyone who had it, including our own Mitch Moss. 60-1 was the price at the Westgate Superbook for him to be the first-round leader. And then you wonder, all right, what is this second round going to look like? I took a little bit of a shot of J.J. Spaun in a matchup against Justin Rose. That did not work out all that well, as J.J. Spaun shot a 72 and Jay Rose shot a 71. So here's Justin Rose following his 71 yesterday at Augusta as he remains the leader after 2 rounds of the Masters.
Decent day for sure. My wedge was good, kept me, some really good up and downs actually on holes like number 4, number 8, number 10. So that, that kind of really kept, the round was in a good spot at that point. Nice birdie at 12. And then, the finish, obviously just a few too many 5s coming in. Didn't really take advantage of the par 5s, although they were both playing tough today. They were into the wind. I didn't feel like there was much value in trying to force birdies out of those holes.
So Justin Rose, your leader, once again, heading into today. He will start his round at 2:40 Eastern. He and Bryson DeChambeau will be the final pairing today down at Augusta. By the way, loaded top of the leaderboard there. We'll get to Rory McIlroy here in just a matter of moments. But Justin Ray does such an incredible job of nuggets out there when it comes to golf. So let's run through a couple of his regarding Justin Rose as he looks to win for the first time in his career down at Augusta. Justin Rose is the 9th player since 1980 to lead the Masters outright after both rounds 1 and 2. The only one of the previous 8 went on to win, though, so not great news. That was Jordan Spieth. So Justin Rose, 9th player since 1980 to lead the Masters outright after both the first 2 rounds. Jordan Spieth in 2015, the only one to go on to win. This is the 3rd time, according to Justin Ray on Justin Rose, that Justin Rose has led the Masters outright after both rounds 1 and 2, 04, 21, and 25. He is the only player in tournament history to do this 3 different times. And then lastly, Justin Rose and Bryson DeChambeau have been grouped together in 2 previous rounds in majors. Rounds 1 and 2 at the 2022 U.S. Open at Brookline. Bryson shot 71 and 71. Justin Rose, 68 and 73. And, of course, those 2 will be paired together. Justin Rose, once again, is sitting there at 8-1 to win outright there at the Masters. Rory McIlroy, let's just say I came into work a little grumpy on Thursday night. We had to work our way through it because I had hitched my wagon to Rory McIlroy. And while Matt Humans did an outright laugh in my face, I could sense it was there, saying, it's what you get what you deserve when you back Rory McIlroy at the Masters. He's never gotten it done. Obviously, we all remember what happened at the U.S. Open with the short putts. He could not finish there to close that out as Bryson DeChambeau ultimately won the U.S. Open a year ago. But Rory McIlroy, after a disastrous finish to his round on Thursday with the double on 15 and the double on 17 to go from 4 under through 14 to finish with a 72 on Thursday, Rory McIlroy responded with the best round of the day, shooting a 66 yesterday. Here's Rory McIlroy following his round yesterday at Augusta.
Overall, just proud of myself with how I responded today after the finish last night. I just had to remind myself that I played really good golf yesterday, and I wasn't going to let two bad holes sort of dictate the narrative for the rest of the week. And but yeah, just ultimately, just proud of how I got back into it today.
I won't lie, as I sit here, and a lot of us here at VSiN hitched our wagon to Rory McIlroy. We had Van Pelt on the show last Sunday, and he felt like this was the year. Steve Sands jumped on the show as well right before the round started, feeling like this could be the year for Rory McIlroy to finally throw on that green jacket. Long way to go, but quite the comeback. And I was watching Golf Channel last night, and I got pretty excited when they did a extensive breakdown. Because remember, what was the stat that came out regarding the Masters champion and top 10 after the first round? Since 2006, every Masters champion was in the top 10 of the first round, except for 2019 with Tiger Woods. But it's interesting that they left it at 2006, because in 2005, it was Tiger Woods who was quite the struggle in the opening round. He was 7 back after the first round. Tiger was in 2005. He shot a 66 in the second round. Tiger Woods did. And he was in third place after the second round. So there's some interesting parallels between Tiger in 2005 and Rory in 25. 7 back after round 1, a 66 in round 2, and in third place heading into the weekend. So just saying, maybe we've got a shot. As Matt Humans likes to say, there's nothing worse than hope, and oh boy, do I have a whole lot of hope regarding Rory McIlroy as he sits right now as the co-favorite on the betting board to win the Masters, along with Bryson DeChambeau. Much more on the Masters. We'll get some thoughts from JVT as well coming up on the other side. Wes Reynolds will jump on the program at 11:15. Matt Humans in the final hour of the program as well. So a lot of Masters coverage, a lot of best bets for today. But as mentioned, no NBA today. Tomorrow, the final day of the regular season. We'll get some thoughts from Jonathan Von Tobel on the other side of the break. Hey, folks, if you're ready to get in on the action, First Bet has you covered. Sign up now to access exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every day right from your phone or computer. Visit firstbet.com, that's the number 1, stbet.com, and use the promo code VSiN200 to score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days up to $200. Don't miss out. Head on over to firstbet.com.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
We keep it rolling here on a Saturday morning, live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. I'm your host, Tim Murray. We will talk a little NFL draft coming up in 15 minutes with Connor Allen, 4 for 4 football. Will give us his thoughts, any angles to look at from a betting standpoint. Of course, the big news coming out last night regarding the likelihood of Derek Carr being sidelined for the season in New Orleans. Does that change what New Orleans does at number 9? A couple of mock drafts out there, including Todd McShay earlier in the week, rolled with New Orleans taking a quarterback, and maybe it wasn't going to be Shedeur Sanders. So we'll get to that with Connor Allen. We'll also talk about that coming up top of the hour as well. But let's head to our progressive guest line and welcome in my co-host on the VSiN Primetime program. Of course, you can catch that 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And a gentleman who's got a couple of nice tickets there in the Masters. So, JVT, when you look at after 36 holes, where are you from a a future standpoint, and did you add anyone to the card heading into the weekend in Augusta?
Yeah, they're nice. They're not nice tickets unless they cash. So we'll see what happens. But I do have Justin Rose at 115-1. Do have Hideki Matsuyama is about 35-1, and then Ludwig Oberg. Sorry, it's early in the morning, as well at about 24-1. So we'll see what happens. Did add Rory and did add Scotty, thinking that look, but Rory actually. Matt made a great point. Outside of what happened in the first round, he's been playing on this course, I think, better than almost anybody at this point right now. And for Scotty Scheffler, he hasn't really been playing that well, and yet here he is, 3 strokes back from the lead, and he's still Scotty Scheffler. Yeah. I don't know if you saw the image of him last night. He was the last one out there on the driving range, last one putting up the shots. So we'll see if that means anything. But I just want to have a small position on some of the guys around Rose because I understand the criticisms of Rose's position here. He gets there largely due to his putter. Around the green, he hasn't really been great. Tee to green, he hasn't really been particularly awesome if you look at the strokes gained numbers here through the first 2 rounds. And you can't just rely on your putter to stay hot over the course of 4 rounds. It could happen, much like over the course of 4 quarters, the team can shoot 60% from 3. It's just highly unlikely. So I think Justin Rose can maybe stave some of these guys off, but I want to have a position on 2 of the guys that I think can really hawk him down. So, of course, Bryson DeChambeau will probably win this thing.
Yeah, that's that. I have zero exposure to Bryson DeChambeau. So, Scotty Scheffler, yeah, we'll see because you felt like that 18th hole where he's sitting there messing around in the leaves like he's one of our kids, and then he comes out still – saves, still gets a bogey there. So Scotty Scheffler definitely lurking at plus 360. I certainly could find myself adding a little Scotty to the card. That's JVT. I'm Tim Murray. Let's keep it rolling from an NBA standpoint. We have an off day today. The Eastern Conference is all set, JVT, and we do have some series prices as well. I imagine, we will break this down in depth next week as the playoffs get rolling. But just looking at the 2 series that we know for sure that we have, Knicks Pistons and Pacers Bucks. Pacers around a minus 175 favorite. Knicks a pretty significant favorite over the Pistons. Any initial thoughts on those 2 first round series in the East?
Yeah, do you have the series prices in front of you? Has the Knicks price changed at all? Excuse me, because I will tell you this. At minus 425 for the New York Knicks, I believe that series price induces some value here on the Detroit Pistons.
It has not changed, by the way.
Okay. So if that's going to be like the widely available price, I think that does scream some value for the Pistons. I think they have a greater shot at winning that series than what that price would indicate. So that, of course, 5.5 games was also posted at DraftKings in terms of total games for the series. Over was only minus 115. I think it's a very fair price to lay as well. I do think that the Pistons can push the New York Knicks. I don't think there is some significant difference between these 2. I think there's certain weaknesses for both squads, which the other can exploit, but I don't think there is this massive gap between them, considering how poor we know the Knicks have been playing, especially on defense. I think that this is going to be a problem. We also saw just the other night, yesterday, look, the Knicks' crunch time offense has been pretty poor all year long, and that came to roost again yesterday. I think that this is going to be a much tighter series than what the series price would indicate. I'm not saying that this is, the famous words, wrong favorite here. No, the Knicks deserve to be favored. But the degree to which they are favored, Tim, I think there's a lot that the Pistons can do to make this thing a fight. And at the very least, I think asking this series to go 6 or more games at minus 115 is very fair price to lay.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So if you think this just goes 5 or you get the Pistons at plus 2.5, you could lay $1.45. So it depends on what you like to do and juice and all of that. But
what's plus 1.5? Because I was those weren't up yesterday when I was looking.
Detroit plus 1.5 is plus 145. Okay. Yeah. So. Detroit at plus 145. So we do have a couple of series underway. We've got the play-in tournament all set. The West coming into a little bit more of shape. The Lakers did lock up the 3 seed yesterday. We do have one more day of the NBA regular season, JVT. So looking ahead to tomorrow, your Los Angeles Clippers get the Golden State Warriors. And the Western Conference, all these games are going to tip off at 3:40 Eastern time. So there's no, in theory, you're not going to look up at the scoreboard. What do you make of where the rest of this, how the West is going to kind of unfold here, and any matchups that you're hoping to get from a matchup standpoint for the Western Conference?
Well, here's the thing. One thing to note for Sunday, and I think this is a very interesting dynamic. So I was reading up, getting up on the clinching scenarios and whatnot, and I found the wording around Denver pretty interesting, which was assuming Denver beats Houston. Now, why would that be the case? Because the assumption is Houston has been resting their players. Tim, Houston has not played 4 of their 5 starters since last Sunday when they played the Golden State Warriors. They have rested their guys all that time. And remember, they're a playoff team, so they won't play again until next weekend.
Yep.
So I think this Denver thing in Houston is a fascinating dynamic, because does Houston really want to give their guys a full 2 weeks off before they play another meaningful basketball game? I don't know if that's the case. Do you want to get them out there against Denver and just kind of loosen them up, give them 1 game of action before another week off, before you head into the weekend that will be the postseason getting started next Saturday? So I would not assume that Denver is going to play a fully rested Rockets team unless there's been a report that I missed that they're already all out. Nope, we're good. So I think that dynamic is pretty interesting, because a lot of these scenarios I'm reading assume that Denver's going to win. I just don't know if that's going to be the case. Now, having said that, Clippers and Warriors, we do have a number up. Warriors are a 4.5-point favorite, total of 221.5. I would say a couple of things here. First off, total of 221.5. I'd lean slightly under. This will have a playoff type vibe. These are 2 teams that need to win to get their best seeding possible. These are 2 teams that can still slip to the play-in depending on what happens in the same window. You can't play that game where you're just scoreboard watching throughout, because you just got to take care of business. So I think this might be a pretty low-scoring playoff-type game. Steph Curry's already come out and called it like a Game 7 type atmosphere. So if it does even play at that pace, it's going to be pretty glacial, it's going to be pretty slow, and it's going to be pretty intense on defense. I think you can see the market going under on 221.5. The other part is, at first blush, 4.5 I think is a little high for Golden State, because that would indicate, at least throughout the regular season, 2.5 has been the home court that I've been using, that there's a 2-point difference between those 2 teams that are neutral. I don't think that's the case. I think they're near equals. The question just becomes, in a faux playoff type setting, and as we head into the postseason, where generally home court gets ratcheted up, is this worth upgrading a home court rating from like 2.5 to 3 or 3.5? And if that's the case, it becomes a little fair. So that's a question I'm kind of debating at this point, but very much so. Clippers, Warriors, under 221.5, I think is worth playing under. We'll see what the market does.
Yeah, that's right now. That's out there, a game that has a lot of importance for the Western Conference standings. So we know that the Lakers are the 3. We know Rockets are the 2, and we know that Oklahoma City is the 1. So on Sunday, we'll find out who the Lakers will ultimately play. If you're J.J. Redick and company, JVT, is there a team? I mean, I think in a perfect world, you'd love to see the Grizzlies. That seems like it's not going to happen. The Grizzlies lose last night to the Denver Nuggets. When you look at the possibilities out there, whether it be the Warriors, Clippers, Nuggets, or Timberwolves, is there a matchup for the Lakers that you'd like to see? And is there a matchup you would like to avoid as we find things out come tomorrow?
Yeah, and just for clarity, the Grizzlies are locked into the play-in after that loss yesterday, so they cannot get out of 7 range. No, I don't think so. I mean, look, I guess you kind of hope maybe that the Nuggets slip to 6, because they're just such a poor defensive team that maybe you as Los Angeles can pick them apart, and you're not really going to be stressed too much. Now, again, every single issue or every single matchup has its issues, right? You trade for the Denver Nuggets and you get a bad defense. You also get Nikola Jokic, who you really don't have too much of an answer for. But we can go back to that fateful Saturday post-Luka trade where they went out there, had a pretty strong game plan, and went after the Nuggets and ended up getting a big win on the road. So you had at least a game plan in your pocket that worked for a very big win, and you get the Nuggets with Jamal Murray only having 1 game under his belt after missing 6 straight. So there, I think of these teams, they seem to be the most flawed at this point right now. But Clippers, Warriors, I guess we'll throw in the Timberwolves as well. But those teams are playing some of their best basketball at this point right now. They're very good defensively. They've got the big body wings to take on your 2 wings. I think that those are matchups that you'd prefer to put off as much as possible. Then you've got the Nuggets circled to potentially slip if it can happen. And again, it goes back to the original dynamic. Will they be playing the B team for Houston, or will the Rockets actually play their guys before the big break?
He is Jonathan Von Tobel. You can follow him on Twitter at MeJVT. On later today, JVT?
Yes, 1 o'clock.
All right, there we go. He will be on Live Bet Saturday. Always appreciate it, sir.
Yep, see you. Thank you.
There he is, Jonathan Von Tobel, joining us courtesy of our Progressive Guest Line. Hey, folks, ProfitX is offering the best odds all baseball season long. ProfitX is peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40-plus states, the first of its kind in the U.S. You can get exchange rates that guarantee you the best odds by an average of 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. Download ProfitX today and use the code VSiN, that's VSIN, and earn up to $200 in profit cash. We're talking NFL draft with Connor Allen next.
to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
We keep it rolling here on a Saturday morning, a busy Saturday morning. Always great to have a little breaking news to start the show as Nico Iamaleava is moving on, or Tennessee is moving on from Nico at the quarterback position there at Tennessee. The spring portal is about to get open, and my friend Colin Wilson over at the Action Network pointed out, this is why, and I'm paraphrasing, this is why you wait until to hit those win totals, which is a fair assessment, as we will get a little bit of movement, not as much as we got in the winter portal time, but we will get certainly some movement here and some quarterback movement because Nico's a big name. He will certainly be wanted by, I imagine, a handful of programs out there. And my speculation, once again, pure speculatory, is that USC certainly could be interested in his services, and I imagine other schools as well. So we'll continue to talk more about that. We're going to hit on that more in depth tomorrow too, because I think the college football quarterback landscape is pretty intriguing because Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart and Cam Ward are all moving on. They're going to hear their names selected in the NFL draft coming up in less than 2 weeks. And to help us break down the NFL draft and look at it from a betting standpoint, as of course we like to do here on VSiN, bring on Connor Allen from 4 for Football at Connor Allen NFL. And Connor, let's start with the news that we got yesterday, which was the Saints could be without Derek Carr the entire year. And it's kind of been an interesting week regarding the New Orleans Saints, who have the number 9 overall pick, because Todd McShay, love him or hate him, he is an influential person in the draft space, and his most recent mock had Jackson Dart going 9th to the New Orleans Saints ahead of Shedeur Sanders. So let's start with Shedeur versus Jackson Dart. How do you see that playing out? And at this point, is it a lot of smoke, or are you buying into some of this Jackson Dart ahead of Shedeur momentum?
Yeah, I think a couple of things on the situation. First off, I don't understand how the Saints didn't keep this under wraps for another 2 weeks until after the draft, and this didn't get leaked after that, because they put themselves in such a bad situation in terms of now every team knows that they could be interested in a quarterback, and if they're planning on trading up, they know that 9 is a spot to trade up ahead of. So I think that's just a complete disaster from handling that standpoint. Secondly, before this happened, before we knew about any of this, I heard that they just weren't all that interested in Shedeur Sanders. Now, maybe that was smokescreen. I heard that they're more of a Jackson Dart team, like McShay hinted at. Now, is that at 9? That's the question. Is that going to be a pick 9? Is that them just picking best player available? They're not one quarterback away, but I understand the quarterback of the future is important to have as well. So I think that the Saints, honestly, there's still an outside chance that they go somewhere other than quarterback here if they don't love Dart or Sanders, who I expect to both be there, but I'm not sold they take a quarterback, even though the odds right now are like minus 150 for them to take a quarterback at 9th overall.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of movement there in that odds board. It was minus 150 when the news came out. It's moved 20 cents, nothing too crazy. And as people know, and if you're new to betting the NFL draft, things move rapidly. It's wild to see the movement out there, as Connor Allen, who is a gentleman who loves to dabble like I do in NFL draft betting, joins us right now courtesy of our progressive guest line. So when we look at 1, 2, and 3, and I have yet to find a shop to have that exact, how confident, Connor, are you right now that it is the projected 1, 2, 3, and it will go this way, which is Cam Ward going 1 to Tennessee, Travis Hunter, who has gotten some love this week, going number 2 to Cleveland, and then at number 3, and Abdul Carter tweeting out a picture of Lawrence Taylor was interesting yesterday, going to the New York Giants. Are you all in on 1, 2, 3 going chalk, or could you see a curveball coming in the next week or so?
Yeah, I would say that I'm like 80% of the way there, and I think that if it goes, I think the only wild card in the situation is Shedeur Sanders potentially to the Browns. I don't think he's on the table right now for the Giants, but I think that there's still an outside chance that he goes to the Browns. There's tons of connections, whether it be Pat Shurmur, his offensive coordinator at Colorado, working with Kevin Stefanski prior. Dion played with the Browns offensive coordinator right now. The Browns, by all accounts, really like Shedeur Sanders. It's just that Travis Hunter is a blue chip player. He's a difference maker. And they, I think, are having a tough time passing up on that. Now, if the owner gets, a week away, is like, hey, we need a quarterback, and they decide they want to go with Shedeur Sanders, I wouldn't be surprised. So that's the only curveball. I'm not laying any juice right now, like minus 300 on Hunter or even minus 200 on Carter. But if it does if Shooter Sanders is not in the picture, I do think it is the chalk 1, 2, 3.
Connor Allen joining us here, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Let's get into some bets that you do like and that are still out there on the board, less than 2 weeks away, and we're going to start to see things kind of solidify as we get closer and closer to the draft. We'll start to hear those reports come out. Let's get to the running backs because, it's funny, Connor, it feels like running backs are cool again, right? It's when you think about I am, as many would know, I'm very hip with trends and up on all of that. And by that, I mean I'm up on nothing, and I am not hip at all. But with running backs, have they come back into fashion, so to speak? So over-under right now on running backs is 2.5. And I think it's pretty safe to say that Ashton Genty, he's going to be a first-round pick. Amari and Hampton, probably a first-round pick. Do you think we could see 3 running backs go in the first round in a week and a half?
Yeah, I do, and it's a combination of what you said. So it's the teams just saw the Eagles, led by Saquon Barkley, see how dominant a running game can be now in the new NFL that shifted towards a pass-friendly approach, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago at this point. And then now it's kind of swinging back to running matter a little bit more. And so now in this spot, you have Genty certainly going in the top 10. I think Hampton is live starting at pick number 10 all the way to pick 24, essentially. But we know, very confidently that Sean Payton has been gushing about Omari and Hampton. And then you also have Travion Henderson, I think, sneaking into the first round. We have Daniel Jeremiah saying that he's going to go way higher than most people think. We have Benjamin Albright tweeting that he's basically a first-round lock. And there's a lot of running back needy teams. You have the Chargers, the Steelers, and the Broncos, all in the 20s there that I think are all viable to pick a running back. And when you have need and you have players who are worthy of first-round picks, which he is, he's a fantastic player. I think the over, especially at plus money, is a great look.
So I'm glad you brought up Ashton Genty and, going early because I live here in Las Vegas, and just down the road from where my house is the facility for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm starting to think that maybe it's too good to be true in that Ashton Genty to the Raiders. You're seeing a lot of mocks, not your mock, but a lot of mocks out there have Ashton Genty going 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll's going to want his Marshawn Lynch type of running back. Are we getting too cute in assuming that Ashton Genty is going 6 to the Raiders? And is there more of a long shot angle that you're looking at for the Raiders with their selection in the first round?
Yeah, look, I think that Genty is the most likely outcome as it stands today. But that being said, I think that there's other potential avenues for the Raiders to go here. Their defense needs plenty of help. They released Jack Jones, and their cornerback room is, I would say, arguably the worst on-paper cornerback room in the entire league as it stands today. And that brings into the picture a guy like Will Johnson, who's about to do athletic testing in 2 days for the first time after suffering a small injury. Went to Michigan. John Spytek went to Michigan, new minority owner. Tom Brady went to Michigan, played majority zone corner. And Pete Carroll loves his cover 3. Patrick Graham played a higher rate of zone than most other people too last year, defensive coordinator. So I think that this is a great blend, potentially a great fit for a guy like him, and they need corners. So like that right now, it depends on the odds, but I think, you can at least get 3-1 in most spots and even higher in some other spots. So I played a little bit of that, and I think that they're very viable to pick him or maybe even Jalen Walker, just adding more. Pete Carroll also loves defense. Everyone says, oh, he loves running ball. He also loves defense. So that's my thing there.
Yeah, right now, the Las Vegas Raiders over at DraftKings, first player selected, running backs the favorite, -150. That was around, I think Ashton Genty to go to the Raiders was in like that -115 range just a week or so ago. That's moved in that direction. But cornerback, to your point, Connor, sits at 3-1. Speaking of corners, let's get to the corners market. Right now, over-under sits at 4.5 corners out there. The juice is pretty heavy right now to the under. How do you look at corners selected in the first round with the number being at 4.5?
Yeah, and it sounds crazy, but I love the under on this 4.5 corners play, even at the heavy juice. I played a little at -200. I think it's up to, -300 is honestly even fine. I think this should be closer to -500, to be honest. When you go through the corners, you have Will Johnson and you have Travis Hunter, who counts as a corner. So there's 2 right there. Jahdae Barron, according to Daniel Jeremiah, is going to fall into the 20s. And if that happens, then you're looking at both of Maxwell Hairston and Trey Amos would have to get into the first round for the over to hit here. So if Barron's going into the 20s, you're looking at basically 3 corners in the last 8 to 10 picks essentially happening here. Amos, is by no means, he's in like 15% of sharp mock drafts going in the first round. And Harrison, same thing. He's closer to 50-50. And I think he's dealing with some off-field issues as well that I think teams are aware of. So I really think that this is a good look. I think that 3.5 would honestly be a better line.
Connor Allen, if you like NFL draft betting insight, he's a must follow at Connor Allen NFL. Always appreciate it, man.
Thanks. Appreciate having me on, Tim.
There he is. Connor Allen. Always appreciate his insight. Hey, just a reminder, folks, unlock your winning edge with an unbeatable offer. You can get VSiN Pro access to everything we do through August 1st for only $59. So head on over to vsin.com/subscribe, vsin.com/subscribe.